This is a beautiful home.
This place has been the site of more murders and disappearances than any other 9-bedroom mansion in the area.
All right. Well, I'm excited to talk to you. This movie was a trip, first of all. Man, I like when you start out with the line, I want someone to come on my face. I think I know where this is going. It's going to be a fun ride to go with it. You know, if you can handle that sense of humor. Huh?
Yeah, just let you know what you're in for.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you know what you're expecting going into it. So I knew exactly what kind of movie it was, and it lived up to it in a lot of ways. The first thing was like, how did you guys come up with the concept? Because it's crazy, but I mean, there are stories that are on like Nightline that these things do happen actually in like real life, you know? So it's not the most far-fetched concept, but what was kind of the initial spark and conversation you guys had to come up with the idea, and then and even the way you're going to present it too in this kind of sinister comedic way?
Well, yeah, I mean, James and I have been working together for around the past 5 years. And we always really wanted to graduate to a movie. And I had written a couple scripts and I was toying with a few ideas, but I think really we just wanted to make a movie that we would want to see. And movies that we grew up on in the late 90s and early 2000s, you know, erotic thrillers or movies that played with tone and characters like on The Sopranos that say awful, crazy things, but they're so compulsively watchable. That was our intention. And James was always such a stylist and always had these big aspirations for what would drive the aesthetics of a movie. And for me, I had never seen a lead character who was gay that was doing the same things that straight characters were doing. We were never framing a character that was gay, that was a lead of a movie that was, you know, not coming out of the closet or you know, didn't have AIDS or, you know, like wasn't put upon by society. I really wanted to show a movie where a gay character could do the same things that any straight character could do. And
it doesn't look weak also. A lot of gay characters kind of look weak or passive, and this character is a badass in a way, you know, like he's just, I totally noticeable.
Oh, Jim, now you're talking Chris's language. Yeah. He is a badass, you know, like Chris said, we've worked together for a long time now, for 5 years. And I've always just been so impressed with Chris as a person, as a performer, as a writer. We did some web series, short form stuff together. And I was really familiar with Chris's skill set and his attributes and what he could bring to the table. I mean, fortunately for the movie and for me, as a first time feature director, Chris doesn't know how not to be funny and hilarious. And I think that was a huge way into this film. You know, like Chris said, we wanted to see things that were compelling to us as kids, and you know, we said things need to be funny and, you know, kind of punchy, and they need to catch you and suck you into a world. And what better way to do that with comedy, and then being able to blend all the other elements together to kind of keep you engaged and tackle all the aspects of things that somebody would like in a movie. That was a big, you know, a big directive for us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right now, and I've been, I don't know, I might get in trouble for saying this, but right now,
go with it.
This has been bothering me for a long time. Like, a lot of people keep asking, where is independent cinema right now? Why have people stopped going to independent movies in theaters, or why are they getting less money for their budget and doing less money, except for, you know, Parasite and these few breakouts?
Right.
And for us, what we wanted to do was make a movie on any budget level that was entertaining first, that would knock you back on your heels, and you want to know what happens next. Every shot, every scene was lit like a painting. That was, you know, really pushing the boundaries of entertainment value. That's what we wanted to make sure that we did across the board. Sorry, I'm coming in hot this morning.
Oh, hey, speaking of truth, that's what it is.
Dude, I had my Starbucks.
Yeah.
Right here, check it out. I'm already done. I drank it.
I'm 2 cold brews in. I've been up since 5 a.m. with my puppy. It's nonstop. So I'm just like, yeah, it feels good.
And you guys are like 2 hours behind me. I feel shameful. I haven't done anything today. Productive.
That's Chicago weather, Jim. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, seriously. I'm just like probably thinking going to a haunted house tonight or something. At least they're open here, so
That's what's up.
yeah.
It's spooky season.
Yes.
There you go. Chris, was there any idea when you were kind of writing the project, did you know you were going to do this part from the beginning, or were you at the initial stages kind of wondering if someone else could play this part? Because I really can't see anyone else really doing that. I think you really knew the character so well, and just the cadence and everything of it. Was there any consideration ever of you just taking over this specific part, or maybe giving it to someone else?
No, it was.
I wrote it for me.
Yeah, no, and that's not to say that I'm the only person who could do it. That's not true. But I wrote it with my voice in my head. I wrote it with all these other actors that eventually came to the project. They all picked up on that voice, that rhythm. But no, this was I've written a lot of things for myself, because honestly, there are not a lot of people that are out gay actors that can do these roles. If I were to give this role to someone who could maybe perhaps command a bigger budget or something, they would most likely be straight. And then what does that say about the system that we're in? But really, this was just a movie that we wanted to make in a vacuum between us and our friends, and these great people that we've admired over the years that came on board, like Eliza Coupe, like Eric Roberts, like Heather Matarazzo, who were part of this other world that understood what we were doing and joined in our fun. That was really what we set out to do.
How did you bribe them to be part of the project?
James wrote them letters. I swear. James wrote them these letters, and it was amazing.
We siphoned off. We got in our bag. We James Joyced it, and just kind of enticed. Well, I mean, and that's all facetiousness aside. I got on board, as I mentioned and Chris mentioned, we'd worked together for a number of years before this, but it all germinated with this script. I read this script off of a 24-hour Las Vegas bender that I didn't have one drip of serotonin left in my head, and Chris sent it to me, and I think it hit my inbox at like 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. Which you do that, Chris. You got to stop sending me emails at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night.
I know. I'm always like, you'll have it by the end of the weekend, and I mean like the end of the weekend.
Literally.
I remember I read it, just being like, okay, here we go, I'll crack it open. And man, it was like a Dan Brown Da Vinci Code beach read. I was just so invested in it. And I've read a lot of scripts, and they take a lot of brain power because you have to kind of get into the rhythm of that with the way that it's all written. But it cracked, it had an aliveness to it. We talk a lot about, Chris has a background in music as I do as well. So I connect with that. There's a musicality to it. There's a rhythm to it. There's a punchiness to it. And honestly, the script drew me to it. I mean, Chris and I, we work a lot together. So I'd be involved in anything that Chris wanted to, to embark on. But this thing had a real vitality to it that I think drew everybody in. No matter what corner they were coming from, whether it was the cast or the crew and everybody who brought their talents to the game.
Chris, your chemistry with Eliza was awesome. You guys were like long time friends, or lost friends that reunited.
Yeah.
How do you made it work? I mean, is it like half of it's improv? Because it seemed like you guys were just going for it in every scene. I just love the camaraderie in which you guys had, the bickering, the back and forth. That was so cool and like natural.
She is my mom. Like I don't know how to say it.
True.
Well, yeah, I mean, we wrote to her to play this wicked stepmother character, and she came in for a meeting that our casting director organized, and there were like 8 to 10 people in this conference room, and she sat down at the head, and she was wearing like this very Topanga Canyon, like hippie coat. And, she had that, that beautiful distressed blonde hair. And she came in and I was sitting on the corner and I think like 10 minutes went by and she and I had been talking the whole time and everybody else was just sort of like, I think that like, do we say anything? Like, I don't know what to do here. And then finally we start talking about the movie and James put together this deck that really helped everyone who had just read the script but had no idea who I was and who had no idea what this was going to look like. Mm-hmm. The way the house looks at night in the film was exactly what James put on the page for people to understand. They understood the neon. They understood the Vanity Fair sort of nightmare that this was. And so for her to be informed that way from the jokes on the page and then from the visuals from the homework that we had done, she came into that meeting, we think anyway, feeling pretty good about it. But then when she saw all of our scenes were together almost, mm-hmm. She saw how we were vibing and the part was hers. Like there was, when she left the room, our casting director said to both of us, she's much more seasoned than us. She was Donna Morong. She was like, "You get her. You have to call her agent and manager now. She has to do it now." So we were very happy about that, and we were so lucky to have her. She, to answer your question, we did not really improv at all. But I was rewriting and giving her things to say, new stuff every day, because she would say anything, no matter how horrible it was.
Right. I mean, you got to have an actor that's going to go for it too. Cause there's some people like, oh, I don't want to say that. Like that first line we just started off with, like, damn, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's someone that's,
what's my motivation for that line? No,
yeah, right.
Yeah, she was just, I remember she said to James and me that she was in it. Mm-hmm. There was no going back.
Commitment.
And she held true to her word every step of the way.
That's cool, because you needed that to come off that, and it did. It felt like so secondhand nature. It wasn't like it just worked with the character completely. That this character is all over the place, is unfiltered, unafraid, unapologetic in so many ways, and it vibed with your character. So that was cool. I want to get back to the house because for me, it was like the first thought was like, this is like a modern day Gatsby house, Great Gatsby kind of modern day version of it with the neon lights and everything like that. First of all, how did you location scout to find that house? Because it's like a character in a movie in a sense. And get it so illuminated, so cool. Because I felt like it looked like a party, even though there's like a few people there all the time, just because of the vibrance of it, the lights. I mean, that was like a huge thing that illuminated it completely, but the house was cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's interesting that you bring it up because since the house was so big, it's just this massive behemoth, like pentagon squat structure in the middle of Beverly Hills. It took a lot of work, especially on our indie budget, to get that thing lit up, because it had a life to it, but we had to light every corner of the house, especially in the wides, so that was a real task. I remember when we were prepping the film, trying to find the right house, because you're right, Jim, it is like a character in the movie. I mean, the title of the film is The Estate. It had to have a particular quality to it. We saw a lot of, we live in LA, the movie's based in LA. There's no shortage of huge houses in LA, but none of them were right. None of them were right. They were either too tasteful, or they just didn't read the right way. There's a symmetry to that house that is almost it's completely impractical. That was, I think, something that shouted out to us from the moment we saw this house. We were just like, why would anybody build a completely symmetrical house? There's a kind of horror kind of scariness to that, because it's very strange, right? It's just like, why would there be kind of a mirrored version on the left and the right? And it was that way, and it was scary. So we just knew right away, with also kind of like the Versailles marble and the color palette of the house, we knew adding the neon element to the existing color palette would be something really special. It would also be something that referenced a lot of the stuff that we had all talked about wanting to do homages to. And yeah, it was just kind of this thing where we knew immediately that that was what it was going to be. I mean, there's Lautner houses. There are beautiful houses in LA
Oh
that
yeah.
would not have fit the aesthetic and the gaudiness and the kind of in your face attitude of this movie and these characters. And it was just awesome that we found that place.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I like looking at that movie. It just like, I don't know if these lights even could make like a Spanish style house, for example, look, it would just look weird in a lot of ways, but everything just fit in so perfectly. Like it's startling. You watch a movie like, damn, you always kind of reference the house and you look back at it because it stands out. No question about it.
That's so great that you say that. I mean, and also props to the cinematographer, Mike Simpson. Like you were talking about, the house feels alive. To get a house feeling alive, you don't have to only put the putrid neon green lights in, the dining room and then the kind of, cyan stuff coming from the pool, but you also have to light, because there's a tennis court scene. So that there's a lot of depth to the house. So he has to put the huge lights in the way back so that the back, windows light up in that master shot. That's the kind of stuff that's just like, Chris can attest to it. But luckily it's a house that it is so terrifying in so many ways. Like I haven't been in a house that has, it's so scary. They're like stalls because it was an event house. People could have weddings there and nobody lives there, by the way.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, I'm like, I wonder who lives there. What, just like a family with kids and they're like, watched a movie like, what the hell happened in our house here?
Yeah, it's crazy, but those are the kind of nights where people are like really sitting around because you got to have the guy, the electric department's hiking the light all the way back, 200 yards.
So vast, you know what I mean? It's so expansive in so many ways. So it's like an events house. That's interesting. I was wondering, I'm like, did you guys move out a family for a week to just film this?
We were the event. We were the 3-week event.
It's a haunted house, but it's haunted with like Instagram influencers and new startups like Fab Fit Fun giving, where they have people come over and they give balloons and a bunch of people come by with their phones and take photos, on the pale pink, and we sort of turned that on its head a little bit.
Yeah, you guys made the best use of it. No.
Yeah. That's the new horror movie, Chris. Don't give away the plot.
Right. Sorry. My bad.
When you guys look back now that the film's completed, what sort of things are you guys most proud of now that it's done, or maybe anything you do differently? What are your kind of like looking back, revisionist history thoughts on the whole experience?
It's an interesting question. Baker, do you have anything there? I'll let you field it.
I have one thing, like revisionist history. One thing that I think that we always wished we had more time in the moment, James and our cinematographer Mike Simpson and the production designer Maddie. I mean, they were doing so much to that house that we always wished we'd had more takes, and then it's like sometimes we were trying to change over into scenes, and we were changing costumes, trying to go somewhere else and going to a different location. So you always feel rushed for time. But I think that energy created a kind of mania for us that yielded really great results. So in the moment, I think we always wished we had more time, but I really do think it helped us make fast decisions in the moment. When we saw the first cut, we couldn't believe that the tone, the balancing of the fights and the blood and the comedy was working. I mean, and obviously that's an opinion, but we couldn't believe that this magic trick, at least to us in a vacuum, was working. So that we don't know if that's because we were so rushed, but yeah, for me it was time. But yeah, what about you, James? Is there anything?
I would say that just in the interest of trying to put something forth that is productive for another first-time filmmaker or people that are going to find themselves in the situation that we were in, I would say almost the opposite. I feel like somehow or another, this project has been charmed from the start. Maybe it was because when I read it, I just had such an affinity for the project and for the world that Chris created. But look, with films, I mean, look, we both grew up loving films. I went to film school. We both always wanted to make films our whole lives. So I've read enough about other filmmakers going through this, so to know that you're always going to get lemons when you want to make a movie, right? But the way we figured out how to make lemonade out of that, that is the goal of every filmmaker, because you're going to get faced with so many challenges and obstacles put in front of your face. We dealt with them left and right, but somehow we're able to pivot into things that we thought could work. And then the other thing that I would say, which is we had the great fortune to have a few small friends and family feedback screenings. So we were able to actually have we parlayed a few additional shoot days, and then really gathered information from a lot of people that we trusted, and even some people that didn't know us directly were able to give honest feedback. We had a scientific questionnaire that was written out by our editor, Patrick Sanchez-Smith, who's done some amazing feature films, a guy I'd worked with a lot in the past, and we all have great respect for. And we were able to take that feedback. And then the goal was then to take this amazing world that we all believed in, and then be able to pivot things that weren't quite working and make them things that we think work well, because it's been market tested to a degree. Because the whole idea is getting it in front of people and having the audience love and appreciate the world that we want. We don't want to just say, look at this awesome world, don't you love it? Oh, you don't love it? What's wrong with you? That's not the goal. The goal is to make something that we care about and are passionate about, and that's something that that any viewer could like. And that was the thing that we tried to do. Like Chris was saying, we're putting so many different things that we all love in this: comedy, thrills, dips of horror, violence, pulse-pounding moments, beautiful music. And so if there's something that you don't like in it, you just got to give it a couple minutes until there's something that you probably will like. So that was
it moves that way.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, sex scene, a death, more beautiful exteriors, and then
pick your poison.
Very well,
literally.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was fun.
What's next for you guys? Are you guys going to collaborate on anything else again? I think this is a good teamwork right here so far, evidenced by this film. Would you guys planning any other scripts? What's kind of, now that this one's in the books and soon that it's all right, the baby's growing, it's grown, it's been developed by you guys. So what
James James probably doesn't want to say this, but he, during the entire time we were making our movie, he was making a documentary at the very same time, which I didn't understand the full extent of how much he was doing for another movie. That Herculean task of a feature debut, he was also doing a documentary, and I think it's almost done. For me, I made another, I wrote another script that we have a budget for, that COVID allowing, we hope to move forward with it. I know that James is going to be involved in some way, but that's what I'm doing. But James, I mean, yeah, when he told me, he was like, yeah, I mean, we're still shooting this documentary, we're almost done. And that was
a documentary about this film, maybe, James?
No, totally different.
That's going to be in 20 years for the Criterion Collection. My daughter's going to do that, like Stanley Kubrick's daughter did the Shining documentary.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody's working like Steven Soderbergh. Like that's the goal, right? To cut like 3 movies in one day. That I didn't get there, but I mean, yeah, like Chris said, I'm just so excited to see what comes next for Chris. This is a huge vehicle for him, where I'm so happy and honored that all of us were able to come together to make a film that showcased all of our talents. But really, really, Chris, he shines so much in this movie, like the rest of the cast. And he's incredible. The script that he was talking about, I'll let you talk about it if you want, Chris, but it's a rom-com, and it's a little bit in a different mode. I read the current draft, or maybe you've done it don't send it to me again at 11 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to just see where this can take our careers and where it can grow, and then come back together and work on something that, pushes our boundaries even further. Like, that is just something that I'm super excited to do. So, it's been an amazing journey with this movie, and it's awesome that it got out there with the Newport Beach Film Festival, which was amazing for us. We're just going to see where this goes, try to get it in front of as many eyeballs as possible, because I think it's a crowd pleaser.
Totally. And Chris, you need to bring back the rom-coms, man. We've been in a lull for like a decade now with no rom-coms, and like people want them. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why he disappeared, like for some reason over like from I'd say like early 2000s to like now, they just kind of fell off the face, you know, but people like them. Those movies sell. So I don't know what happened, but I'm glad to hear you're coming up with one.
Yeah, I could write a dissertation on like how romantic comedy is literally one of the most enduring genres of cinema.
Yeah.
But we don't have to go into that right now. The important thing is that we want as many people as possible to see this movie that we are so proud of. That whatever's going on with in your day, if you're on Instagram while it's on, you will be drawn in for 90 minutes of escapist, fun, sexy, violent cinema, and we don't want you to think about anything else. We want to make as many things as possible after this, but please, we want as many people as possible to see this movie. We're so proud of it.
That's the best elevator pitch I've heard in a long time, man. That's how you sell a movie right there.
Go Bruce, 2.
There you go. I agree with all that you said. I thought it was a blast. It was fun. It's cool to like I said, you guys set the tone early, and I knew what I was in for, and I appreciate that. When I watch a movie, I know what kind of a movie I'm gonna get, and you went for it right away. You know, threw the punches out there from the start, and that's kind of cool. There's no, you know, sometimes you watch movies like, what the hell am I watching? Where is this about? It's like, oh, it's not what I expected to be from the beginning, you know, but this, you know what you're in for, and you roll with the ride from start to end. So that's cool that you guys did it that way.
Thanks for riding with us, man. Thanks for taking
absolutely.
We want you on it.
hey, I'm glad to be part of it. I'm glad to check out the movie. Before I go, James, what is the poster behind you? I'm trying to figure it out.
This is such a funny thing to put in as an Easter egg. Like, so I have this on Zooms when I do other jobs, and it creeps people out. I'm like, oh, this is my Gentile family from the 19th century. This is the Gentile side. This is my wife's family. It's like it's very scary, but it's an Easter egg that I thought would be appropriate for this Zoom because
totally.
If you remember, this is in the film. So I don't want to say too much more about it. I don't want to get spoilery, but I just figure if somebody's going to come back and watch our interview.
Oh, okay. This is
the family portrait right here.
That's right. I'm like, it kind of looked, I was staring at this thing for a while and trying to figure, okay, there you go.
You got to go back and watch it. We put a lot of Easter eggs in. We didn't want to confuse the viewer, but I think look, Chris and I both have watched this movie a million times and think it holds up on repeated viewing.
Absolutely. Well, hell of a job, guys. Chris, I don't know if you're a better writer or an actor, but you're excelling at both, especially if this movie is any indication. And James, fantastic job for a first time directing a feature, man. I'm looking forward to see what you guys are up to down the road. Chris, bringing back romantic comedy. It's cool. It's cool what you guys did, and you should be proud of it. It was fun. It's a fun ride, and we need movies like that. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate it.
Hope to catch up with you guys down the road for sure again. You know, this is just the start.
Likewise.
Absolutely.
Stay warm in Chicago.
Hey, I'll try to.
All right.
Take care, fellas.
Thank you.
We need you to come back to the house. Someone's been killing our family.
Where's your freezer?